Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about the new PlayStation DRM, the scares, but also the Sony calling it back and like, hey guys, this is not that big of a deal. The new game by Imagine Dragons Singer is not doing very well, unfortunately, and the Steam controller is now out and we have more details on it, and it is already sold out, basically, in the first, basically 20 minutes. That is what we're going to be talking about today. My name is the Technojelly. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do these types of videos on Mondays, so please come to the channel, check it out on Mondays. On Fridays, we also do video essays as well on all types of topics. Currently, we're doing a bunch of movie stuff and TV show stuff, mostly around the video game movies, but we'll be expanding a little bit on that as well. And if you'd like to support super directly, please go to poggers.shop, linked in the description. Use code Technojelly for 10% off of any of their energy drink, hydration drink, or sleep aid mixes, as well as their shaker cups. 10% off using code Technojelly in the description. So starting off with the fact that PlayStation had a new DRM update, basically, and it caused a lot of people to freak out, basically all over the internet. It was, from what I saw, mostly on Twitter, because that's where people complain a lot on the internet. And for the most part, it was about a new security check that PSN users had to do when they bought a game off of the PlayStation Network. Basically, what the security check was is that it was a validation code that started a 30-day countdown when you bought it. And initially, people thought that every 30 days, you had to basically check in with the game in order to confirm that you still owned it. And if you didn't do that, then the license would be revoked. Now, if this truly was the case, that'd be awful and terrible and really intrusive DRM that I think almost basically everyone doesn't agree with. The problem with that assessment is that it was basically just wrong. PlayStation officially, or I should say a spokesperson for PlayStation, or Sony Interactive Entertainment more specifically, because it was more of a Sony broad stroke spokesperson, told GameStop that it's a one-time online check that were required to confirm the game's license. And then it basically turned that license into an unlimited license, which is generally how most online games work. Like when you buy a digital game, it says, okay, did you buy the game? Yes. Okay, good. You can play the game, which is generally how most online games work, or online stores or retailers in any way, which does make sense. I think it's kind of weird that it gives you 30 days to do this check, but I mean, I guess it's just to make sure that no mistakes can be made, because you have to buy the game on the PlayStation Network store. So that means you have to be on the store to buy it, so you need access to the internet, because it's just interesting to me that it gives you 30 days when you technically should probably confirm you bought it right away, which is what I thought it was like that. But to be fair, giving extra days just in case isn't a bad time. Like there could be an outage after you buy the game or something like that. Now there were some very kind of funny responses to this, especially by GameStop, who said trying to say hey, this problem won't happen if you buy a physical game, which also just isn't true, honestly. A lot of games require you to connect to an online service nowadays, so buying a physical game doesn't really stop that anymore, unless you're buying retro games. If you're buying games from PS3 and backwards, generally that's fine, but if you're buying anything from Xbox One and PS4 onward, most games nowadays need an online connection of some kind, unfortunately. And you can talk about whether that's a good thing or bad thing for consumers or just the market in general, but that's just the reality of how it works. So I mean, GameStop trying to push in a thing, but I mean, GameStop is a dying breed, and they're basically just a graveyard or a corpse just trying to get what ounce of attention they have left without it just being the crazies that are still doing the whole meme stock stuff. So it doesn't surprise me that they're trying to chip in for this. But overall, I think it is really good that Sony stepped in really relatively fast. It was only a couple days that it took them to fully go through this type of response to say, hey guys, this is how it works, you don't have to worry about it. And I do think this is also showing that people are really concerned about DRM. Pretty much the only DRM service that people are okay with is Steam's, because technically Steam is a DRM. You can't play a game out of Steam outside of Steam for the most part, unless it's a very specific type of game. So technically Steam is a DRM, but that's pretty much the only one that people are okay with, kind of. There are people against it, don't get me wrong, but DRM is something that I constantly have a problem with talking about, only because I feel like intrusive DRMs just make it so people that pirate games have more to go on, because a lot of the times it's what Gaben said a long time ago, Valve CEO, piracy is generally a service issue. So if games with DRM are difficult to play, people will just play either different games or go around the DRM. I think Ubisoft is a really good example of that, because the stuff that Ubisoft uses in their games, people have literally seen performance enhancements off of pirated versions of those games because the DRM isn't there. And like the DRM literally causes performance problems and lower FPS. So I'm like, that form of DRM everyone hates. But I mean, an online check to make sure you've bought a game and then it turns into an unlimited game license. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I don't even know. I guess that is still technically DRM because it's digital rights management. If anything, this is the most appropriate DRM because it's literally making sure you own the digital rights and then it just gives you the game. So I guess it is word for word the most appropriate type of DRM. Because from what we can tell, this is the only thing it does. It just says, hey, do you own the game? If yes, good. If no, that takes the game away, which I don't see how that would really work. Like, unless you're using a jailbroken PlayStation 4 or 5, but I don't know. I don't think you would be trying to do stuff like this with a jailbroken PlayStation 4 or 5. Like a modded PS4 or PS5, I don't think you'd even be worrying about something like this anyway, because generally those run off of either custom discs or custom software anyway. So like those types of consoles wouldn't even be generally a worry about this type of DRM. So yeah, it turned out it was a nothing burger, which is a good thing. And I'm glad that Sony like went out and said, hey guys, this is not a problem. But it does show the maybe trigger happy people that like, hey, not all DRM is bad. Because I mean, yes, I hate to say it, but having a confirmation to make sure you own the game probably needed. So, you know, not the worst thing. And the fact that it give you 30 days to do it after you buy a game online, which I think is really funny that it takes that long, or like they think it might take that long, or it's just a precaution. But hey, it's probably good it exists. Moving on to a unfortunate story about the Imagine Dragons singer Dan Reynolds and his new studio called Night Street Games. They've been working on a game for the last 6 years, basically. They announced the studio back in 2020, and they've been working on a game for a while, and it arrived on Steam called Last Flag. It is a 5v5 or multiplayer game where the main game mode is Capture the Flag. It is a hero shooter, and it is a live service but not free-to-play game. It costs $15 on Steam, American, USD. And unfortunately, this game has not done well. It has not peaked over 600 players. It's barely peaked over 550 players at the time of me talking about it. And the player count has been going down and down and down ever since then. And this is one case of where people are calling, you know, it a Concord or a High Guard or all these types of names. And I actually, from what we know, disagree with that statement. Simply because Night Street Games, the studio, is seemingly privately funded. So first of all, they don't have shareholders to talk to. And it seems that most of the funding is coming from Dan Reynolds and the other people around him. Because his brother's also involved, his band manager is involved, and there is another co-founder as well. So it looks like it's their money, not other people's money, which is a good sign, because that means they can mean that the player count doesn't matter as much. Because like, for instance, for High Guard, they basically needed to blow it out. Like they had to go crazy popular in the first couple weeks, or Tencent was going to leave. And obviously they weren't able to do that. So Tencent left. So all the money was gone. And the CEOs lied to the devs in High Guard because like they thought this money was secure, and it just wasn't. There was in the contract that they could pull out at any time, and they did. And I feel like for Last Flag, I think the money situation seems to be a little bit more stable, so they can just keep trying to update the game and get players back, because the game is actually rather unique, other than the fact that it's a hero shooter. And I think that's the biggest thing holding it back, the fact that it's a hero shooter. If this game was just like a loadout based system, or something similar to like the finals where you have archetypes instead of heroes, I think people would have been more okay with this game up front. rather than it being kind of shooing away from this because they think it's going to be dead on arrival. And unfortunately, they were kind of right. But the game mode itself, Capture the Flag, is an interesting take on Capture the Flag because one, where the flag is depending on where your team places it. When you start the round, you choose to where to place the flag, and then there's also a like domination capture point system in the middle of the map where you can capture stuff to make better spawn points and stuff like that. So it's not inherently a unoriginal game. The problem is that I think it's going into a market that is very competitive, and even though there isn't that many games in terms of popularity that are like this, the problem is the games that are popular are very saturated. Like for instance, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, Apex Legends, Fortnite. You can name a lot of games that people would classify this. Now, to be fair, this is multiplayer 5v5, so like I guess you're not really fighting like the battle royales, but the two games that you are fighting is Overwatch and Marvel Rivals, and like those games are very cemented in their player base and have years and years and years of work behind them now. Even Marvel Rivals, with being the newer one, they still have like 2 years worth of development and a proven game modes and proven hero kits. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wish this game wasn't a hero shooter, because if this was more like similar to something like the finals where it was light, medium, heavy, or just something like that, and so you can pick and choose abilities and stuff like that, I think it would have been a lot better because there would have been more customized ability. And I think unfortunately hero shooter is not a good term to have anymore, because unfortunately hero shooter now you're either compared to Overwatch or Marvel Rivals, which, you know, depending on that could be a good or bad thing. But another big thing is that you're also put in the same category as Concord and Highguard, which is not a good thing because obviously those games failed really hard. And I do think the fact that this game costs money is a good thing, because free-to-play games live or die on the first couple weeks of microtransactions a lot of the times, and they live or die on whales. And if you don't have a big player base, then the whales are going to be even less. So charging for this game, I think, is a good idea. $15, I think, is totally fine for a multiplayer game. The problem is that people really care about numbers. And so it having a small player base means people aren't likely to buy the game because they think the game's going to shut down in a couple weeks. And to be fair to those people, the past couple of years has proven that a lot, because a lot of multiplayer games shut down randomly, seemingly randomly, in a couple months, even if they have Sony behind them, you know, like Concord. So it's one of those things where you have to be kind of cautious in buying a game because it could just shut down, especially multiplayer games nowadays. It could shut down within a month or two, even if the game is doing well. Like Highguard wasn't doing that badly. Like sure, there was a significant drop off in terms of players, but it had tens of thousands of players. And the daily player count, while slightly going down, was relatively respectable, but then it shut down. So the main thing is that I find it really hard for them to convince people to buy the game when the player count is so low, because people are so aware of it. And, you know, there are people on Twitter talking about the player counts, but the people on Twitter aren't the people you're trying to convince, because those people are just trying to dunk on games. You know, those people aren't actually playing video games most of the time. You know, they're just trying to get Twitter interactions for whatever reason. Get that sweet Twitter blue money or something like that. The people you have to try to convince are the people that are actually just browsing through Steam, or like, you know, the actual people who buy video games. And I think constant updates is the way to go. When I say constant, I meant reliable updates. You know, like you don't have to force updates in like every month or something like that, but showing that you're not abandoning the game, I think, is the bigger issue that people are going to be worried about. And I mean, they already have the strategy of they're doing basically free weekends until the 1.0, until the first update comes out. So that's a good way. Like, I'm probably going to try it on one of the free weekends because, you know, for free, I'll definitely try the game. And then, hey, if I think I like it, then I'll buy it, you know, if I think they'll stick with it. I mean, the main problem for me personally, just like everyone else, is I'm worried that the game isn't going to exist in a couple months. And I know it's kind of an oxymoron for me to say it because, you know, they're trying to get people to play this game. But unfortunately, we do live in a reality where a lot of the times games just disappear for whatever reason, especially multiplayer games. So hopefully they figure something out, and hopefully people will try the game out on the free weekends. But, you know, I'm cheering for them. I want this game to succeed, and that's why I'll be trying the free weekends, just so I know if I like the game or not, because I think this game has an interesting take on it. I really wish it wasn't a hero shooter, but they chose that decision and they probably can't leave that decision, so we'll see after all. But we'll see, and that's the big thing. Hopefully, next time I talk about this game, it's because it's either gotten better or more updates came out and not because it's shut down. And finally, let's talk about the Steam controller that came out today as of recording and basically already sold out within the first 30 minutes. And it seems like people really love this thing. We know the details about it as well now, like the full details along with the price. For me, it's 149 Canadian dollars, but for most other people, it is 99 US dollars. And the controller just looks good. The reviews were out. The controller looks good. The thumbsticks are great. The rumble is good. The gyro is useful. And the grip controls for enabling gyro or just the customization for the controller is really good. I think the controller looks good. I personally, well, I mean, obviously I can't buy it right now because it's sold out, but, I am on the list of things of this is something I will buy eventually. And I just think it's cool to see Valve finally release this hardware because we have known about it for a while, but I think they were originally planning to do a triple release with the Steam controller, Steam machine, and Steam frame. But obviously, the market situation for RAM prices and graphics cards and just a lot of computer parts in general delayed the Steam machine and the Steam frame's production and selling. But luckily, the Steam controller doesn't have any of those problems for the most part. I mean, it is a more expensive controller, but that's because of the magnetic thumbsticks, the gyro controls, the 35 plus hours of gameplay, it being fully integrated with Steam, whether games have controller support or not. And obviously the fact that it can either be a wireless controller or a wired in controller at your leisure, and the ease of charge. So I sound like a shill, but I mean that's what all the bullet points are for the controller is, and it looks really good. And obviously people love it because it's sold out immediately. Unfortunate for some people because a lot of people want one and now they can't get one. But I mean, to be fair, this happened also similar to when the Index came out and when the Steam Deck came out as well. And I'm interested to see how this controller goes in the next few months. Like when people actually get their hands on it, and I'm curious how it will keep and how stable and durable it will be in 6 months to a year. Because I mean, that's the real test for a controller. Every controller is good, or every decent controller is good for the first week or the first month, It's just how durable is it with constant play? And of course, I'm not including people who rage and throw their controllers and stuff like that. I'm talking about just a no regular gamer playing their games on with their controller. How durable is this controller? Is the magnetic thumbsticks actually going to help with the stick drift? How well is the gyro going to hold up? How well is the rumble going up? Are the buttons going to be good over a course of 6 months? That's the real test, I think, is going to be for a lot of people, and I'm going to be interested to see what people think about it within the 6 months period or the year period. And obviously that's very far away from now, but it's going to be interesting to see. And it's also going to be interesting to see if this sale tactic is going to be similar to how when the Steam machine or the Steam frame comes out, because they sold out really fast. And I know a lot of people that are interested in the Steam machine or the Steam frame. So it's going to be interesting to see if people are going to be actually to get one, or if it's going to be a scalper's dream. Hopefully it's not going to be a scalper's dream because it is controlled by Steam and Valve. So they can control a lot of things. And I mean, from what I can tell, the Steam Deck, while it definitely had some problems in terms of availability, it didn't seem like it was a scalper's dream too much so. So hopefully they'll be able to get production and demand as well. But it looks like from the get-go and from the early reviews and from how it sold out so fast, it's going to go well. And I'm happy for them because I personally will get it eventually, and I know some other people will as well. And I mean, the one downside is that it only generally works on Steam. I think you can technically use it for other platforms, but you're going to have to do some fandangling with programs and stuff like that. But it's just inherently, I mean, it's a Steam controller, so it's mainly made for Steam. So, I'm sure you can get it to work with other things, but obviously it's probably made and used by Steam. I mean, when you buy it, it literally updates Steam. Steam literally updates and has a software update when you connect a Steam controller to it, and then it can update the controller itself and the puck. So, obviously, it's best on Steam, but I'm sure people are going to figure a way out to do it on other platforms. Thank you everyone for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do news videos on Mondays and video essay style videos on Fridays, as well as some shorts and other type of content like that. Comment down below what you guys thought about any of these three topics, whether the Sony DRM, the Last Flag new game, or the Steam controller, if you're interested in any of those, or if you're going to try out Last Flag too, now that you know that it's going to be free to play on the weekends. If you'd like to support me directly, please go to my Patreon at patreon.com/thetechnojelly. You join all of these nice people going across the screen right now in the credits, as well as a once a month live stream that we do and vote on. The vote will be happening next week, so if you want to become a member and vote on what we're going to be doing and hang out and chat with me, go ahead and join the Patreon. If you want to support super directly, you can go to poggers.shop, linked in the description. You can use code TechnoJelly for 10% off of any of their products, whether it be the energy drink, hydration drink, or sleep aid mixes, as well as their shaker cups. They have a pre-order going on right now for a new flavor and some restocks of old flavors as well, which is 10% off using code TechnoJelly. I also have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads, all at the TechnoJelly. Please click or tap my face or above me for more videos, and I'll see you in those videos. Goodbye, everyone.